Welcome to Tabletop Gaming Guild. Tabletop Gaming Guild is all about the experiences and memories that playing tabletop games with friends and families can create. Today we'll be looking at Prosperity, designed by Rainer Knizia and Sebastian Blaisdell, and published by Hysteria Games. In Prosperity, you are balancing power creation with ecological impact to try to create a prosperous society. The game is played progressing through the decades, and at the beginning of a player's turn they will draw a tile, and everybody will resolve the effect that is shown with a white border. So in this case it's capital, so everybody would get income according to the number of capital symbols they have on their player board. We also have research, so everybody's going to advance on the research track according to the number of research symbols they have. Power, so everybody's going to get money for every power symbol they have, or lose money for every lack of power they have, so any negative power. Prosperity, so everybody's going to get a point for every prosperity symbol they have on their player board. And ecology, so everybody's going to reduce pollution for having positive ecology, add pollution for having negative ecology. And those are the 5 symbols that are going to activate. Each decade has the same 5 symbols, but it's going to be randomized what order they come up in. Once everybody has resolved the symbol shown on the tile card, it would then go onto the research track according to the number shown on the tile, and color of that number will tell you which side of the track it goes on. And then the player would get 2 actions, and he can choose from a number of actions. He can gain revenue, so $100. He can research, so he can go up 1 space on one of these tracks. He can clean pollution, so he can remove one of these pollution tiles, or he can buy a tile. If he chooses to buy a tile, the cost is shown here. So basically, if it's on the research level you are currently at on the relevant side, you're paying $100 for that tile. If it's below it, no matter how far below it, it's still $50. If it's above it, you're paying an extra $100 for every level above your current research level. So if I were to buy this tile, it would cost me $200 because I'm only on track 1. So 100 plus 100 is 200. I would then put this on my player board in a spot that matches its color, and then update my stats. So I'd go down 1 on conservation and then up 3 on power production. If I were to cover an existing tile, I would negate what was shown on that tile. So in this case, I'm negating the -2 ecology and the 3 power. So basically I am actually increasing my ecology by 1 by negating that. Once the active player has taken both their actions, the next player would continue by drawing another tile, and we'd repeat the whole thing. This would go until all the decades have been completed, in which case the game would end. You do a final activation, in which case power would activate twice, ecology would activate twice, capital would activate once. Then you would trade all your money for points, $300 per point, and then you would get points for being the highest or second highest on each research track, and then you would finally do a final prosperity score. So that's the entirety of the game. It's a relatively simple game, but we'll get into my thoughts on that game. So first we have to talk about the look of the game. The cover is not really particularly attractive, and the back makes it look like an older title. Doesn't really have the shelf appeal, and so I don't think a lot of people pick this game up. Not to mention that once you've actually opened this up, the components inside aren't very attractive either. It does look like an old title that isn't really well thought out, because you have elements like these cubes that are too big for the tracks they're supposed to be in. So I would say this is definitely an underproduced title. However, despite that, it is a very solid game. I really enjoyed the push and pull, having to balance your power production with your ecology, and that everything you do costs you something. If you're increasing your power, you're generally sacrificing your ecology. If you're increasing your ecology, you're sacrificing your power, and overall that can hurt your prosperity. In that way, it is a really interesting game to bring out for teenagers and young adults, to get them to really think about what the needs and wants of society are, and what sacrifices are made in order to provide that. On top of that, the game is super solid. You really have to put a lot of thought into every single action. And it's interesting that each decade has the same symbol, so you know once a symbol come up in a decade, it's not coming up until the next decade. So if power has come up already, you know you have a little bit of time before it's going to come up again. So that's a good time to sacrifice power to increase your ecology and score ecology when it's coming up. So timing is super important in this game. That said, because you have the same tiles every time, it becomes relatively predictable. So this is a game that it's going to be fun and interesting for the first few plays, but it's only going to be enjoyed after that if you're the type that likes to really excel at a game and play it until you are the expert and really awesome. But that means also if you're trying to introduce new players, you're going to wipe the floor with them. So give and take, and it depends on your playstyle and what kind of games you like. In short, this is a really solid, interesting game. Great for young adults and really entertaining for any gamer, but it really needs a visual overhaul and perhaps an expansion with some modules you can throw in to mix and match things. So that's my thoughts on Prosperity. It's worth a try if you can get it at a deal, or go and play it with a friend if they happen to own a copy. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check us out on other social media such as Instagram and Facebook, and don't forget to like and subscribe.